Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, what reports, if any, has he received on recent wage growth?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, this week I've seen two reports. The quarterly economic survey showed that total weekly paid hours worked increased 1.1% in the March quarter. This follows the recession that started in early 2008, which forced many businesses to reduce staff working hours. That trend is now starting to reverse. Secondly, the labour cost index shows public sector wage and salary rates increasing by 2.3% in the year to March, nearly double the 1.3% increase in the private sector.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, when unemployment is at a 16-year high and wage growth is at its lowest in almost 9 years, why is Budget 2010 focused on increasing GST and pushing up the cost of living on hard-working Kiwi families?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, Budget 2010 is following on from Budget 2009 and dealing with two things. One is the recession that started in New Zealand in 2008 under that government before the global crisis. Secondly, the very poor performance of this economy from about 2004 onwards, where it grew at less than 1% per year through what was meant to be the best economic conditions in a generation. So we've got to undo the damage of the squandered opportunities under that government and deal with the global recession.
Amy Adams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary question to the Minister. What was the impact on average household incomes of New Zealand's economic performance between 2005 and 2008?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, in the 3 years from September 2005 to September 2008, GDP grew by, on average, less than 1% per year. However, that figure was outstripped by annual population growth of 1.1%, meaning that per capita growth in incomes during the last 3 years of the previous government was actually negative, when the rest of the world was booming.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, what other job opportunities are open to young, unemployed New Zealanders when the only job scheme the government has announced, the Cycleway, has failed to create any jobs as predicted by the Treasury? And is that what this government means by backpedalling?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the finance spokesman job might be available to them as well, for the even younger ones. The fact is that jobs are being created every week. Several thousand people a week are going off the unemployment benefit as the economy starts to recover. And Budget 2010 will help to create the conditions where business has the confidence to invest and employ, because until or unless they make that decision, there won't be a reduction in unemployment.
Amy Adams.
Supplementary to the Minister. How have incomes for New Zealanders on New Zealand superannuation, which are linked to average take-home wages, been affected by recent government policy?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, since the 1st of October 2008, a combination of tax cuts initially put in place by the Labour Party and then further tax cuts put in place by this government, New Zealand's superannuation payments have increased significantly. For instance, a single rate for a person living alone has gone from $571 a fortnight to $636 a fortnight, nearly $65 increase in the hand per fortnight. For married couples, the increase per fortnight has been up to about $100 in the hand, or more than 11%. Since the 1st of October 2008. We believe that policies that continue with adjustments in the tax system and promoting economic growth will mean that New Zealand superannuation payments can continue to increase.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, how does the Minister reconcile his comments on the taxpayer-funded promo Plain English that we can beat those Aussies when New Zealand's average wage has stalled at $959 and the Australian wage has raced ahead to $1,580?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as I said, it's going to take us some time to undo the damage done by 9 years of misdirected economic policy.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, we traversed yesterday the boundary between a factual history of things that he's responsible for, actions under the previous government, and his description of the parties of another policy, which you ruled out yesterday, sir. You gave him, I guess, the wiggle room that if it was a passing reference, it might be allowed. But, sir, he started his response talking about the Labour Party, and it doesn't appear there's any way out on this occasion. I'd ask you to...
The Honourable Gerry Brownlee.
Mr Speaker, I think reflection on the question would give a perfectly good reason as to why Mr English was perfectly free to start his answer in the way in which he did. The member over there referred to a taxpayer-funded television program in which Mr English had made a particular promotional point. Now, at that point, the member then asked him, how does he justify or how does he reconcile, I think the words were, and then compared wage rates in Australia to New Zealand. Mr Speaker, there was actually, if you analyse it right down, no clear question in there whatsoever. If, in fact, how does he analyse was the question, or reconcile was the question, then it was quite free for Mr English to reply in the way in which he did.
Order. No, I've heard quite sufficient on, and I've got to agree with the Honourable Gerry Brownlee that if the member wants to have ministers not deviating from absolutely straight answers, the member's got to discipline himself and not putting elaborate constructions into his questions. Question number 6, Dr Paul Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.